I wrote these pieces, mostly on the keyboard. After my initial idea of, from the bass, then I was mostly using the keyboard. And then I thought, okay, now what? How do I begin the process of building a band track over this? I've got a tempo, I've got maybe a certain number of bars that the melody is. So what do I do? So in general, what I did is I played kind of a rough piano track of everything. And I didn't really have in mind how long the solos were going to be. I just kind of played enough choruses on the piano that felt natural, and then went to the next section. And I didn't worry about getting every note completely right, because I knew I wasn't probably going to use it later, So usually the piano was first, and then the bass, which then I was starting to focus on what it really is, and then it would vary, but it was a tricky thing figuring out how to just how to structure the order of what to play when. Now, what ended up happening, which gave it layers and layers, was, maybe eventually I'd put on some kind of a guitar part, and then I'd realize, oh, okay, now that I hear that, the bass part should be different. So then I'd go back and do another bass part, which was reacting to the guitar part, which then maybe I'd add a piano part that's reacting to that, and over again, so that there's some kind of communication between the musicians playing on the track, even though it was all me. There was kind of a restriction in that I started making this recording when I was at my parents' house, because they had a lot of room. I could set up the drum set. I didn't need to worry about making noise. I couldn't really set up the drum set here at home in Brooklyn. So then recording the drums, that was the first thing that's like, well, that's kind of final. After getting that all set, then I came back to New York, and it's hard for me to know really how much I redid, but I think there's very little of the original things that I put on before the drums. Usually I did many passes on every instrument reacting to the drum part that I had done. And there was only one really interesting exception to that, which was surprising to me. I had put kind of, solos when I was just working on it. Maybe with the drums, maybe not, but, just to have some kind of solo, thinking that it was a scratch solo, that I would do a better solo later and, whatever. And in most cases, I tried a lot of other solos, and I didn't like any of them as much. There was something about there was some kind of first take energy with these scratch solos, maybe even because I wasn't putting the pressure on myself that it had to be finished. I ended up liking most of those better and using a lot of those. I mean, there were actually some situations where I think I changed the chord progressions slightly after the fact, but they were chord progressions that still worked with the original solo. So I might have been soloing over a slightly, like a different root movement, but I just never got a better take. So I kind of kept the original.